Welcome to Gray Overload, and I've been thinking about the 5070 and the 9070 and the 9070 XT. AMD released a couple of cards this week, and Nvidia had their last 50 series that they announced at CES finally come out. And here we have it. The 5070 is not a 4090. As much as Nvidia wanted it to be, it is not a 5090. It is closer to a 4070 Super at 1440p, just in that range, and about 5% better than that at 4K. It's like a 3090. This is where I like to see a bigger jump. This probably should have been more of a 4060 class card, but in the market we're in and where Nvidia has been going, and just AI and everything around it, we seem to be more going in the small increment increases per generation than the big leaps that I've been used to. It's disappointing, and we can maybe talk about price in general in a little bit, but the performance here was not anything, unexpected off of the excitement that was the original Nvidia announcement. I think everybody really wanted the 4070 to be a 4090. I think that would have been the best case scenario, and everyone would have been super excited except for AMD. The 5070, of how it came to be in this launch cycle, has really left the door open for AMD, especially with the 5070 and just where the prices have gone to it. And if the stock issues, the driver issues for Nvidia, and also the missing ROPs are just a multitude of things on top of it that makes you maybe want to look elsewhere. Now AMD's had some improvements here, and I was looking at ePost Vox a little bit, because one area where if you're streaming and stuff on the AMD cards has been just horrible encoding. It looks like that the encoders have improved quite a bit. Congratulations, AMD. That is one big improvement that I wasn't expecting. Looks like AMD's finally putting things together. And if they can continue down this path in the next generation, and start getting more on par with other ones, other encoders, other performance, and exceeding it, and maybe in some cases, I think AMD is going to be making a compelling stack from top to bottom. We'll see where the 9060 sits when it comes out. AMD did say that they're coming out with a 60 class card, and if that competes with the 5060 series, maybe beats it out for a good price point, has 16 gigs of VRAM, I think that's going to be crucial. If they have an 8, they got to price that down towards the $225 range, which I don't know if AMD is willing to go that low for a card. You have Intel's GPUs there now. If you can get those in stock at all at a MSRP, they provide some good value, right? That's down in that area of the stack. So, and they have what, 10 and 12 gigs, something around that. So you really, unless you're exceeding the performance by a lot, I don't know if you're going to be able to compete with that price point. We'll see how that all lays out. But a 16 gig on the 9060 and the 9070, I think it's fine for where these cards are placed. And as much as I can complain about naming schemes of cards, I'm actually not horrible about this. When I see AMD's just copying Nvidia, fine. Slightly different. Instead of the TI, it's got XT, right? We got just certain differences here. But the thing about these cards is that at least you kind of know where they're lining up, and they seem to be hitting the mark in the right lineup. Now, I was going through a lot of videos like this, and depending upon what games you play, take that as the most, hey, this is the card I want to get because this card produces the best in this price point for the game I play. That's kind of where it is, right? But if you are just someone like me that likes to turn on different games, and in fact sometimes go back to his old games where it doesn't really matter which graphics card you have, but you'll take and play whatever games are kind of thrown at you because you're interested in them, getting a well-balanced card for that is probably important. And the 9070 XT actually looks pretty competitive overall. I'm impressed with that. Now, it's mostly because the MSRP price point, and as I am searching today, that is the one crucial point of, it is a price point, and I'm on Newegg right now, and I'm looking at that 599 price point, and they're all sold out. So that is the one disappointment here, that they're all sold out. Now, maybe that'll, be fixed here in the coming weeks. However, even if you're up towards the 625, 650 range, I get, I'm a little concerned once you get up to 650 range, because I bought the 7900 XT for 650 over a year ago now, I think, and or about a year ago or something like that. And that was just, I've been able to play some games on it, had some value, and if you were able to get the price at that point, I don't think it's really worth it. That's why I'd like to see that price down a little bit more than that 650. But it does look like is no, they're all out of stock at Newegg now for these 9070s and 9070 XTs. And then at Micro Center, just in case you're curious, we'll get in more prices here in a second. I just want to talk about this. I was looking at Micro Centers here close to me, and so there are 19 in stock right now. It just looks like there are some over well, you can get the 9070 for MSRP. The 9070 XT is all sold out at MSRP, it looks like. So they're selling through. There, by the way, I looked earlier this morning. There was stuff in stock at both sites when I looked. So they got to be going through them. And the stock at my local Micro Center for a lot of these cards I was looking at were 25 plus. So they've went through stock pretty good. And why not, right? When you're looking at this card, it's, about 9% slower, give or take, depending upon what you're hitting on with RT and everything else, than the 5070 Super. RT is improved. It's not, you know, amazing RT, but it's an improvement on RT. I think if you hit one more generation of AMD, you're going to be at a good clip. There, you got the 9070 is about 10% slower, and the 5070 then is another what is that, 16% slower. So you can kind of see where these line up, where that 9070 XT, maybe you get an overclock model that can hit that 5070 Ti with the FSR4 versus DLS4. Well, that's not equivalent. At least it seems like AMD's putting some effort into that to keep that up. If upscaling is your thing, or frame generation is your thing, those extra features are important. Just like I was mentioned with, if you're wanting to use encoders, it's important to have that. It seems like RT in this is ahead of that 7800 XTX of last generation for this product, which is very good. It's a little bit slower in raster, so you can kind of see where AMD kind of made up that ground there. And power it uses a lot of power. The 9070 XT uses quite a bit of power in comparison to the Nvidia counterparts. Now, while the efficiency isn't quite there, as Gamers Nexus, I was watching his video, he made a really good point, and I 100% agree, is that with the XT, I think it was more important for AMD to hit performance than it was to hit the efficiency curve. You hit a performance, and next generation, if you were able to, even gain on top of that, even make better performance, you can maybe tweak that efficiency much better. But it was more important to hit that. And then you left the 9070. I was looking at the numbers today. I was shocked at how efficient that GPU is compared to the 9070 XT. AMD, it seems like if you keep those clocks down quite a bit and don't pump the power through it, can be quite efficient overall. It's impressive, right? And the 9070 looks to be a card that, we'll get into price in a little bit, but overall it looks to be a card that can compete with that 5070, be a little bit ahead of it for the same price. Now you could say it's just AMD minus $50 instead of Nvidia minus $50 for the AMD card, which is true. But if they can keep it at there, my question is what is the BOM cost? What's the bill of materials cost on these cards? Because maybe AMD has a BOM cost that has to be pretty close to that $550. And if that's the case, what's more important, right? And when we talk in a price, I'll propose this question now so you can think about it. But Moore's Law is Dead even brought this up in a different way, I think. But he talked about some of the stock, which I highly recommend you go listen to for that stuff. But just those, if that BOM cost is at a level, do you want AMD to sell GPUs at a loss? Now, you can be off the bat and say yes, but what is the side effect of doing that? If they're going to keep losing money on GPUs, why would they keep putting money into that, right? They got to bring back some cost on there, and hopefully during the life cycle of this, the cost do come down and those prices will drop a little bit more. But just keep that in mind. I don't want them to go the route of Intel right now, where we're all so hopeful that Intel was coming to the rescue of the GPU market, and well, here we are today. So overall, right, the one thing I think is missing too is Rock'em on these cards. They should be out there day one and really push that out uh, and get that all rolling on this. I think even though they're only 16 gigs, you're not going to be running huge AI models on these. But for somebody that wants to start dabbling in some of that with a lot of the AI stuff that they have and all the performance they have for AI on them, tops, there it is, all the tops that they have. I think it's one thing that they could actually start using these and put them out there and leverage these cards as well as what Nvidia does for AI out there. Overall, right, the performance of these is the 97XT looks at MSRP looks to be a really good deal overall, considering the current market conditions and what they're going through. It's a competitive product, slower than that 5070 Ti, but you can get within a good percentage of that 5070 Ti, which makes it a nice looking card for $600 versus the $750 of that 5070 Ti at MSRP. That 5070 just does not look great. If you're going after that, keep it at MSRP. I think at MSRP it's a toss up between. I probably go with the if I'm not focused on DLSS4 or some of the Nvidia stuff like CUDA, I probably go with the 9070. If I'm focused on CUDA, DLSS, some of the other Nvidia features, I would go with the 5070 at that $550 price point, give or take, right? If you have a, a special model that's 580 or something, that'd be okay. I just would not go above, no, I just have to stick, I don't know if I go above 600. Of course, it might be a long time before I see these cards at below 600. Maybe I won't be buying one. I'd be interested in getting I'd be interested in all these to test them, but if I was building something, I'd probably focus on the 9070 XT right now. That'd be the one I would go after. I'd be about the $520 range to $600 to $520 range is probably where I would shoot for. And we'll see where all prices go. And I'll make an updated video in a couple weeks here on that. Moore's Law is Dead he goes into a lot of stock stuff, but it seems like the stock for the AMD side of stuff is going to be a lot more and more often coming to the stores than the Nvidia counterpart. So keep that in mind. And I don't know how how Nvidia is going to structure all these launches. Well, one, they got to figure out their whole missing ROPS issue. Then two, they have to go through and figure, do we make a whole bunch of dies for the 5070s and 5070 Ti's, or do we just focus on where AMD really isn't yet, which is that 5090 and 5080? We'll see. We'll see what they kind of choose, and they don't have to do too much because right now, if you want the high end card, the best of the best, guess what? It's Nvidia, and you're paying that price. So just thinking about getting into pricing here and talking about that because we went over performance, right, kind of where they laid out here, and kind of where they all sit. But the pricing thing here is going to be something I'm going to have to take a closer look at. I'm maybe in 2 weeks, right? I want to see these cars get restocked and see where the prices settle into, because they're all sold out. It's really hard to tell where the prices are going to be because you don't know when the next shipment comes in that all of a sudden they go and they're just sold out again, right? The 5070s are all sold out, wherever I look. Well, all sold out at Micro Center. I thought I saw some in stock yesterday at Newegg, and they were so much that I couldn't believe it. But even those today are sold out. So I think it was $1,000 one yesterday, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. There's no way. Yep, there's a way. It's $1,000. You know, if you don't spend $1,000 on these cards, they're to me they're not worth it, right? AMD's or Nvidia's in this 550 or in this 70 series are not worth $1,000. Now, if you're hard up and you have to buy something, you're gonna have to hold your nose and pray you get something and just pick blindly and hope that you get a good price at this point. But if stock is able to get into these retailers and stay stable for a little bit, I'm hoping that we drift back closer towards MSRPs, and then that way it makes it a little bit better for buyers. Still would have liked to seen that 9070 at about 499. I think that would be a much better price point for these. But again, it all depends upon the BOM cost and what AMD can do. I don't want AMD losing money on these. I want them to make some profit because I want them to build momentum with money in their pockets for the next generation GPUs rather than relying on some other part of the company to keep funding Radeon or to fund Radeon's development or whatever else, right? You have UDNA now, so you're going to have some of that pot together with the server side AI stuff and everything else, the MI series. So that's going to be a benefit. But you got to kind of work together and not just, destroy your business because you wanted market share over everything else. That could be a strategy if you were in a better position against Nvidia across the whole stack. But Nvidia is right now in an AI, snowball, and you need to take some of that pie too. So you got to be thinking about that as you approach these cards. And if you get upset at me over these prices, these are just what the prices are, and these are my thoughts of where they should be versus and why they might be where they are. Now, that's $599. I hope AMD can stick pretty close to that for that 9070 XT. I think that'll be a really good price for the longevity of the product. And if AMD can get as close as possible to that, I think it's going to be a really good deal for a lot of gamers. If Nvidia can get to their prices and their MSRPs, I think the 5070 at that point becomes attractive, right? I think that if AMD is a little bit cheaper at the 9070, a little bit cheaper than the 5070, I think that you take the 9070 unless you want something like the ray tracing side of things or something like that for the 5070. Again, these products should be, much cheaper overall, but in the market we're at today, you're not getting anything, and unfortunately that's where it is. But if you're asking me what I would get, that's kind of my explanation for these. And I would hold off until prices are, well, in my favor. That's where I would be at this point, is unless I absolutely needed it, you're going to wait until that price comes to me. Don't just go out and just buy these because you want to buy them. Of course, you might be able to sell your used GPU for more than what. On that whole video where I take a look at prices, I'll try to remember to take a look at used GPU prices. I like used GPUs. I buy used GPUs more often than not. So, yeah, the last couple of GPUs I've bought were used. So, no, this one was new. Never mind. It's been a mixed bag. But used GPUs can be very well and very productive. And if they're going to be a good price, or unless they're too expensive, that's a whole other game to play. This could be pricing could be a mess, but we'll see in the next couple weeks how this all goes through. Performance though, I'm actually surprised where AMD kind of landed on these overall. Nvidia stopped going through and telling me that they are a 4090 when they're not. And AMD just, keep that good price to performance ratio and we'll see where it is, right? Hardware Unboxed, Gamers Nexus, Tech Yes City, Tech Power Up, Kick Guru, or Moore's Law is Dead. Those are all good people to go check out on some of their analysis and reviews of these products as well. They did a good job. Vex, I don't know if he had one out yet. I know he was saying he's going to get a card, but they did a really good job overall. I think Hardware Unboxed did something that you look for like a 20% better value on the AMD GPUs, where I can see that, but maybe since FSR4 and some other things with the encoder and everything else have improved, you kind of get that closer to maybe 15, 10%, depending upon where it's all sitting now. So keep that in mind as you're making a decision on these GPUs. Let me know if you bought one of these, and if you want to tell me how much you spent on it. I won't ever say it's a bad deal if you spent money on a GPU. Okay, I may say it's a bad deal, but I won't ever say it's, you did something wrong by spending too much money on a GPU. I think if you are in the market for a GPU and you want the GPU, you buy the GPU that you can afford and that you want to spend the money on. Because if you're going to get if you can afford it and you want to spend the money on it and you want to, you have that enjoyment, that's your thing. And you should be able to do that. I'm just going to say it might be like a bad idea in the whole market generalization of things where I like to see prices a lot more competitive to see that. I like to see the $500, $400 to $500 range really invigorated again when you had, from 300 for 200 to $500 where a lot of the GPUs were. Really like to see that, but we're not there yet. So with that, thank you so much for watching and supporting Grow Overload and helping this channel grow. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon, as it really does help with the channel. So does watching on one of my videos. And until next time, God bless.